Last time on This Week in Geek, Vegeta had his sights squarely upon Mike the Birdman. Can maximum nerdosity win against the Prince of All Saiyans? Find out at ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
Guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as we start to truck into, well, fall has really hit Canada. It's cold, it's wet, it's wainy, it's rainy up here right now. It's really cold.
I'm hunting wabbits.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. I had to bundle up today, something fierce. And that is my co-host from the lovely city of Kitchener,
Alex, the producer.
So yes, guys, we are back here on This Week in Geek, the podcast that has been running for over 16 years, many hours of audio. We've had the quickening with so many co-hosts we have taken their powers from, and that's why we are still standing today. So anyway, guys, yeah, it has been a week. In fact, you're going to notice a little bit things are going differently with the show, as I'm only going to be here in the beginning and the extra, because Alex and I have just a tremendously busy week because Broketober is in full swing. And hopefully we'll be talking about swinging later on during the month when we get our review copy of Spider-Man 2.
For a second there, I was going to say, are we invited to some special key parties where you put them in a bowl? Because you said we're going to be talking about swinging, buddy.
This is true.
This was news to me. I'm not opposed. Just a little surprised. This is how you're going to announce it.
Oh, boy. So, yes, guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Hopefully last week you heard our extended discussion on Assassin's Creed Mirage, where we talk about the latest release from Ubisoft. In this show, we got a game that just came out from Nintendo. We're going to be talking about Detective Pikachu Returns on the Nintendo Switch. We're also going to be talking about something really cool that Alex got from our friends over at Nextbase. And then finally, our friends over at Razer have sent me one of the most ridiculous things I've ever sent before, but it's some of the most comfortable and how I'm listening to the show right now. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But as we often do during the week, we talk about what we have been doing. And this week for me has been just really busy. I've been doing a lot of writing. I've been doing a lot of preparing for other podcasts, which is really neat. I've been collaborating. If you heard last Friday, I collaborated with my friend David Denoyer from Welcome to Primetime, Freddy's Nightmares podcast. And me and Dave have kind of unofficially taken over Halloween here on TWIG this month. We're actually planning our next record, which you'll hear on Friday, which is my birthday, where I turned 42. We're going to be talking about the Tales from the Crypt movies. We're going to be talking about Demon Knight, Bordello of Blood, and then one that came out in the early 2000s called The Ritual, which there's a bit of a weird side story surrounding all that. So we'll be talking about those three movies later on in the week, and then I'll see if I can rope Dave in for something else. And then our big Halloween special coming out at the end of the month with Enrique and James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, where we talk about Hammer horror movies. Myself this week, the big thing that I've really been kind of doing is I've been playing Detective Pikachu Returns. I've been getting outside as much as I can because fall is coming and it's getting tremendously cold. So it's a little hard to go out in my wheelchair just because the wind is so brisk right now. So my sweaters and hoodies just aren't cutting it. So it kind of sucks. I kind of wish I'd gotten out more this summer. But as my friends Jordan and several others have pointed out, like, Mike, the only way you would have got outside more this year is if you lived outside in a yurt. And I'm like, I don't think you're wrong, actually. I was outside a lot this year. But
like, seriously, like every time I contact you, you're like, "Hey, I can't talk. I'm outside." And I'll be like, "You haven't come inside yet, though. It's been like 3 weeks."
yeah, like it's kind of nice to have that level of mobility and freedom. But now that the winter's coming, I'm trying to reassess. Like, well, I guess I can go to the mall. I can go to the library, which means I have to use public transit, which is fine. I missed the ability to go out randomly and just get lost on a street or go find a new park or something.
Can you get like tank tracks for your wheelchair?
Actually, you can. There are variants of the wheels that are offered for wheelchairs that do provide significant off-road traction, and there are off-road wheelchair models that are available, not in bariatric sizes, but are available.
Or can you get like a conversion kit to turn it into like a snowmobile?
I have seen those, actually. I think the company that makes them, there is a manual chair and there's a power chair version. I think it's called the Spartan. So not quite, Master Chief level of Spartan armor, but it is kind of cool looking, and they are rather neat. I think they're a small company out of Connecticut, I think, that makes these things. But it is pretty cool that there is that option available, because I think on their website they show people going through the snow, going through sand, and it's a place where a wheelchair typically can't go, but there it is. Other than that, my latest thing I've been doing is I've had a bit of I don't know if I'd call it, I'm having a depression thing, because, I've been very open with my mental health struggles, how I have bipolar, I do have severe depression. And
it's also, not to cut in, but it's also the time of year when people get seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, because my mood's been really weird.
It's been grayer out. There's the less sun during the day. Normally we used to change clocks around now, but I think, wasn't it the last few years we switched to the American system where it's like in November or something?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. So, like, a lot of this week has just been spent, where am I finding my joy? And I just rediscovered something I did back in high school with one of my best friends. And we used to play Pokemon cards, and I've been getting into the Pokemon card game one booster pack at a time. I will only do that because it's a nice $5 hobby if I keep it smart, not be like these people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on booster boxes. And it's been really cool. It's been kind of neat. I'm actually going to start going to our local game store when the weather is a little less nice outside, and I'm going to start learning the game on Wednesday afternoons, because I found out from the Dragon, which is my local game store here and comic book store, that there's a really welcoming community. They also do Magic down there and stuff like that. And I figured, you know what?
Watch out for Magic. Magic is like crack for people.
Yeah, I was actually talking with my sister Shannon today, because there's a Doctor Who set coming out, and I think I've seen it in stores actually already. It looks really cool. Some of the card art is incredible, and there's been some amazing stuff for Magic and Transformers. They even have the Shattered Glass universe as cards in it. So you can get like Shattered Glass, Rodimus, and Ultra Magnus, and all these other characters who are like the evil Autobots and the heroic Decepticons. And it's really interesting. I actually started reading the Shattered Glass comics this past summer, thanks to JT. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And then when I found out there's a Magic set based on this, first off, that's dangerous. But it's not enough that you could make a deck out of it, I don't think. But Magic, like you said, it's like crack, and I wouldn't want to get into it, because I got out of Magic during the Weatherlight expansion. And for those of you who know what the frig I'm talking about, that's like 1997, 98. So I've been out for a long time, and I just don't have any desire. But that being said, getting the Doctor Who stuff would be pretty cool, because I would love to build a deck completely built around Daleks. That would be awesome. Or the Master, or maybe, I don't know, the Sontarans, or I'm trying to think, who's another bad guy that like, I think the Weeping Angels have cards. Oh, they would have to. But yeah,
I would hope that they'd be lenticular cards, so that if you change the direction you look at them, it changes their faces.
I know there's cards where you flip them funny and they can do something. Like I know for the Transformers cards, they can literally transform. So if one card has the robot mode, one card has their vehicle mode, so you flip them over and they can do stuff. So that's really neat how they can do that sort of stuff now. So card games have come such a long way, and that's kind of a preview of what I'll be talking about at some point for a holiday gift guide. I'll be talking about the Transformers deck building game, which has a new expansion coming out where they actually add combiners into the game. So people like Devastator, Predaking, Superion, Defensor, Menasor, maybe the Seacons are in it, Monstructor, Abominus, like it's a lot of stuff. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing this past week. Alex, what about you, man?
Well, outside of when we were going through Mirage, I've been taking the time to finally do spring cleaning, even though it's fall. It's more like 3 years of junk buildup and boxes and cables and things that have built up since the pandemic started, where I was like, maybe I'll need this. And then I don't remember what they were for. So I'm in the process of completely doing gutting and rearranging the whole apartment. It's going to take a bit of time because I don't want to just rush and do everything. So there's been that going on. I have been out and about. I went and saw 10, which without doing a full review, is probably the second or third best in the franchise. Oh. In that it's very different. It turns the tables, and Jigsaw is the protagonist. Oh. And it's a semi prequel / full prequel / sidequel.
It takes place between 2 and 3, right?
You have to watch, but yeah, it does everything it needs to do in getting you to make Jigsaw likable. And it is probably the most competently shot film as far as like cinematography. I would say Spiral had a bigger budget when it comes to the cinematography, but a lot of people didn't care for that one. Mm-hmm. This is good. It does have a post-credit scene, so you should stick around, and it sort of explains where it's placed in the franchise. But I was pleasantly surprised. I think it has the highest Rotten Tomatoes score out of all the movies.
Even the first one? Wow.
Yes. First one has a bad rating.
Really? I thought the first 2 were like the best in the franchise.
I saw the first 2 in theaters, and I think I saw the third on home video, and then I went back and I binged all or most of them. I watched a few YouTube videos of somebody going over the franchise, and I was like, oh, some of these got real bad. Like, what was it, like 5, 6, and 7 got real bad. Mm-hmm. But then I went and watched Jigsaw like at home before seeing it, and then I went and saw Spiral, and I was like, I liked it better than most people, but I can admit that it wasn't really, I don't know, it wasn't really the movie they were hoping for it to be, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original Saw has 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And then if I look at the rest of them, there's usually a link to the franchise. Where's the franchise link? Rotten Tomatoes, you be fucking up. Don't you hate that they make you? They must have been bought by somebody recently, because the page is just not easy to navigate. But I didn't know that. Like, I thought they just kept going. I didn't know they stopped for several years, because I have been so out of the loop when it came to the franchise. Mm-hmm. Where is it here? So yeah, so that first one got 50%. The new one has 80 on Rotten Tomatoes and 90% audience score, which is kind of crazy when you consider, like, it's the 10th movie in the franchise.
Yeah, that is wow.
And I guess probably the best person to click on here was, if I click on Tobin Bell, it'll probably pull up all the rest of the ones that he was in with them, because they usually used footage of him from previous stuff. So the first one, like I said, had a 50%. The second one was 37%. Third one is 29%. Fourth one was 18%. Fifth one was 13%. Saw 6 was 39%. Saw 7, 9%.
Ouch.
And then Jigsaw was 32%. And Spiral's not listed because he wasn't used in it. There was no footage of him. But I know that one didn't score as that well either. But still, it's amazing that it's the highest scoring one in the franchise, and it's the one that makes you like the serial killer.
That certainly says something about the modern world, doesn't it?
It does. It's also more simplistic when it comes to the traps aren't as ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it was the whole time you're watching, you're like, oh, these people are going to get it. So outside of that, that's pretty much been it. I am planning on going to see some other films. The Martin Scorsese movie. Why am I drawing a blank on it?
Where Wildflowers something?
No, it's opening this. I think it's opening this week against the Taylor Swift thing. Killers of the Flower Moon. It's got a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to take my mom to see that because she's been like, I really want to see that. And our theater just got renovated for IMAX, laser, and then Ultra 4K laser projections. So wow. I'm going to take her next week to see that. I'm not going to try to take her on opening weekend because I don't even know if it's showing in the IMAX this weekend because of all the Taylor Swift stuff, which I still can't believe that made $90 million for a concert. But sure. Anyway, I want to see that. I got a ticket to go see The Marvels. And I've asked everybody, anybody want to go? Every single person I've asked has said no because of everybody starring in it. And I'm like,
I will go see that. I just need to find time in my schedule because if I want to see that on a Thursday, I play Dungeons and Dragons on Thursdays currently, so I can't go.
And it's probably, I fully admit, your Dungeons and Dragons game is going to be more fun than what I see.
I'm really excited for that. I love Miss Marvel. And I really like Carol Danvers.
Hated the Miss Marvel cartoon. Or not cartoon, live action. Because to me, it looked and felt like a cartoon. Like the way it was shot, I got 10 minutes in and I'm like, done. Not for me. But it's still a Marvel movie, so I still kind of want to see it. I'm going because I got a free ticket because when the movie theater closed here and they renovated the new one, I got a free voucher to use for a ticket. And then I got a second thing that let me upgrade to IMAX for free. So I'm seeing it completely for free. So that's why I'm going. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of other movies coming. Everything got sort of shifted, right? Luckily for us, that means less we have to worry about and more time for us to play games and stuff. But that's sort of it. And I also completed 95% of my Christmas shopping. So this is like a world record for me of finishing everything before the beginning of November. So that's pretty much what my week's been like, Ben.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So like I said, Alex has taken care of the weird news and the news this week, but we do have some reviews from me and Alex first. So the first thing you're going to be hearing is a really cool piece of hardware that I got from our friends over at Razer. And I'm going to be talking about the wireless Kraken Kitty V2 BT. I'll be talking about this and just how goofy I look right after this. And then after that, you're going to hear something from our friends over at Nextbase, which is something that'll be useful for your automobile needs. And then finally, we're going to round things out with everyone's favorite electric mouse as he puts on that weird looking hat with Detective Pikachu Returns from Nintendo. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek. Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about something really cool we got from our friends over at Razer. I'm going to be talking about the Razer Kraken Kitty V2 BT. This is a headset that has quickly become one of my favorite pair of headphones I've ever owned, and not just because it looks so ridiculous. Believe me, when I drove through Guelph a couple of weeks ago with this thing on my head, I got more than a few head turns. I see this guy with one leg cruising down the street with a wheelchair with cat ears attached to him. But no, seriously, this has quickly become one of my favorite pairs of headphones I've actually used for not just gaming. I actually use these for podcasting here on TWIG for a majority of the time because how rich it sounds. I'm actually tremendously pleased with how well these things are. And these things charge via USB-C, so you can get up to 30 or 60 hours out of this thing. Depending if you turn off the lighting, you'll get a lot more gaming time out of it. Or if you have the RGB on, you get like 30 hours. But I usually have it plugged in while I'm playing anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Plus, having it as a wireless Bluetooth headset is tremendously useful. I haven't really had a chance to play with the microphone settings just because I usually use my AirPods for those, but I'm very, very pleased with how this thing sounds as a pair of headphones. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do when you do happen to pick this up, you're going to want to register this with Razer as soon as you can, because you will get access to the 7.1 surround sound audio, which is tremendously cool. And it's something that you can kind of play around with too. And with the audio app, which you can put on your phone, you can also have an access to more equalizers, whether you want something to have more clarity or more bass or more vocal kind of range, stuff like that. It does that tremendously well. But the big thing about this that, like I said, I really like, it's a statement it makes. This is not just a ordinary pair of headphones. It's basically a gaming statement like, hey, you are totally comfortable with who you are, and that's just kind of how it is. Like I said, just the fact that it does the RGB effects so well. Like, this thing is bright and it looks really awesome. Like, and I didn't expect this, but I've actually seen a few people here in my home city of Guelph having these just walking around town. So that's kind of cool that more people have tastes like me. But in terms of an actual technical performance, I do find the sound from this thing to be fairly rich, fairly deep, especially when you start playing around with some of the equalizers. And like I said, I listen to a lot of punk music and rock music, but I decided to put it through its paces through some of my favorite 80s tunes. And Pat Benatar's Invincible sounds amazing on this, which if you haven't ever heard that particular track, you probably should. But overall, I think the Kraken Kitty V2 BT is a wonderful headset. I think it looks amazing on camera. If you're one of those streamers that likes to have sort of kooky and wacky gadgets when you stream. For someone who's maybe a little bit more subdued, well, this is definitely a matter of personal taste. I think as a headset, it sounds phenomenal. I do like the fact that it connects to Bluetooth via computer and mobile devices really easy. Yes, it is compatible with the Nintendo Switch, from what the website says. I have not tested this myself, but I can't imagine that would have changed much. So yeah, ultimately, I really like this. I like the fact that it is such a ridiculous fashion statement. But on top of that, it's just a solid pair of headphones. And if you really want something that looks cool, that sounds great, I don't think you're going to go wrong with this. Once again, that is the Razer Kraken Kitty V2 BT. You can pick this up on Amazon or probably places like Best Buy.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
News. It's time for the news, and I'm flying solo this week as Birdman is out, at least for this segment and probably for the weird news. So he has gathered a few stories here, and I've sort of curated from the list he had 4 stories to talk about. Some of these might end up being larger topics for us to discuss as more news comes out, especially some prototype stuff, but it maybe not. We'll see how it goes, because there's definitely more to talk about with these. So without further ado, I'll get into the first story here. Now, if you've been under a rock the last little bit, you probably don't know anything about what's been happening with the game engine Unity and how it affects all of basically indie devs and even some medium AA devs and even some AAA devs out there, with the crazy practices that were happening with their change of user agreements and business agreements for licensing and fees and yada yada. Don't need to get into that, but this, as reported by, in this particular case, comicbook.com's gaming division, as well as many other sites, is that Unity's CEO has stepped down following the runtime fee controversy. Now, in case you don't know, we'll get into a little bit here, but John Riccitiello was the CEO. You know, it's funny saying was, because for a while he was sort of the bane of most people's existence when it came to consumer friendliness in the gaming space. At one point, he was the CEO, president of Electronic Arts, which, you know, back when they were listed as one of the worst companies in the world to work for. But anyway, here's the article as written here. Following a turbulent few weeks at Unity, it was announced today that John Riccitiello will retire from the company. Riccitiello served as president, CEO, chairman, and served on the Unity's board of directors. The move will be effective immediately as of the announcement, and James M. Whitehurst will serve as interim CEO, president, and member of the board. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to pronounce this name, Roloff Botha has been appointed as the new chairman at Unity in a press release. They praised the work of Riccitiello's work at Unity, and many years he had spent with the company. That's bullshit talk you just have to do to seem appropriate and corporate. And another quote is, "Working with Unity under John's leadership has been one of the highlights of my career. John joined the Unity board in 2013 and stepped in to lead the company in 2014 at a time when we faced significant challenges. John had led Unity through incredible growth over the last nearly 10 years, helping us transition from a perpetual license into a subscription model, enabling developers to monetize, building other game services to serve our creator community, leading us through an IPO, and positioning us as a pioneer in the developer community. Unity would not be there today, where it is today, without the impact of his contributions. I remain excited for the future of Unity." So you can blame him for basically forcing or inadvertently forcing companies to try to monetize their games as much as possible, because the more their games are installed and the more users purchase the games, the more the developer has to pay. Unity's transition, here's another part of this article. While Riccitiello's tenure with the company has now come to an end, Unity has stated that he'll continue to advise Unity to ensure a smooth transition. Yeah, sure. Unity's runtime fee change. While the press release says nothing about the last few weeks at Unity, it's impossible not to draw a connection between Riccitiello's departure and the company's recent controversies. In September, Unity announced a new runtime fee, which would be applied and charged developers every time a player installed a game. Not just purchased, installed. So you could buy a game once, install it like 100 times on your computer, and the company would be charged 100 times for your one purchase. The policy was met with widespread condemnation from video game developers who pointed out the absurdity of such a charge. Given the fact that gamers are constantly deleting and re-downloading games to make space, the decision made no sense. Some developers pointed out that they could be punished for pirate installs. As a result of these changes, many studios swore off using Unity for future projects, and some games were even canceled as a result, including the Nintendo Switch version of Ballistic NG. Following universal backlash against the company, Unity changed course on the decision. However, many developers are now skeptical about working with Unity on future projects and have expressed an interest in pursuing other engines. Perception of Unity is basically at an all-time low, and it will take a lot of work for the company to earn back the trust of developers. I don't think they'll ever will. Riccitiello's done irreparable damage to their brand. They're going to jump ship to open source free engines or other ones, you're going to see things like you're going to see other engines pop up with either free or enticing measures to get people to transition over, as long as it's a similar-esque engine. I think Unity is done. Like, it's in the death knells now. Like, it's going to slowly devolve and disappear unless they remove monetization entirely. But even then, nobody can trust them if they can change their terms of service that dramatically on a dime. They're so done. Like, they're a public company, right? They're done. Nobody's going to want to invest. So we'll see what happens over the next little bit. But yeah, that's who could have saw that coming? Pretty much everybody when they made that announcement. So it would be interesting to see where John Riccatello goes, but who knows? The next story we have here is from TrekMovie.com, and it's that Star Trek Prodigy to relaunch on Netflix, including this upcoming second season. Now, this, if you've been following us on our Future Imperfect podcasts, or just even in casual conversations, we have been saying from the start that Prodigy was one of the best Star Trek shows since, the initial Trek run ended in 2004, 2005. When this came out, they found a kids show that adults could watch as well, get enough from, and is almost like a pseudo 8th season of Voyager. So here is the article as posted. Almost 4 months after being removed from Paramount Plus, which was interesting that they removed it from the service to begin with since they own it, and we got season 1 ended on sort of a cliffhanger. The animated series Star Trek Prodigy has found a new streaming home. It's headed to Netflix. The news was first reported by Variety, but has also been confirmed by CBS Studios. Netflix has picked up Prodigy. The first season will debut later this year, and the second season, which was never released on Paramount Plus, but was in post-production of most episodes. Some, I think, still needed a little bit of work, but it was mostly done, is coming in 2024. Today's announcement confirms the Prodigy is coming to Netflix in the USA. And then there's an international update that was updated later on in the day when this article was posted, stating that additional Netflix territories are expected to be announced closer to the launch date of Season 1 in the USA. The removal of Prodigy from Paramount Plus was part of a larger series of cost-cutting moves made by the streamer. This is the first removed Paramount Plus show that has found a new home. It is also the first original Star Trek show in the new era that will exist exclusively outside of Paramount Plus in the USA. After the removal of Paramount Plus, an active hashtag Save Star Trek Prodigy fan campaign emerged, which included flying a banner above the Hollywood offices of potential new homes for the show, Netflix among them. It says producers and Kate Mulgrew celebrate the news. Co-creators and showrunners Dan and Kevin Hagman and the star Kate Mulgrew sent out a message to fans via official announcement. Thank you to our incredible Star Trek Prodigy fans who championed not just the show, but the community that's always been connected by a belief that we build a better future together, said the executive producer. We set out to inspire you, but you inspired us. And then there was just, more tweets coming from fans. So it says here, Season 2 in the final mix. The first 20 episodes season wrapped up on Paramount Plus in December of 2022. At that time, work on a second season of 20 episodes was already well underway. When the show was removed from Paramount Plus in June, Paramount made it clear that the work would continue as they searched for a new home, because it was that far, along in production, and I believe it was already part of like the previous year's budget. So this couldn't have been like a write-off would have made no sense because they couldn't get the money back like some other studios had done. So this had already been budgeted for and then canceled at the last minute. So because of that, it made more sense to pump extra money into the show to at least finish it and then shop it around. That's why we're still seeing it, which is good. Then the article goes on to show that there's going to be more cameos from people from Voyager in it, which we won't spoil. But that's pretty cool. I'm glad it's coming out. It was really, really well done. There's a couple episodes of that show, and of course there's kids stuff in there, but there's a couple episodes of that show that would have fit in with any regular Star Trek. In fact, might have been better episodes of Trek in a 20-minute kids cartoon than most of actually the live action Trek that we've been seeing, the last several years. It was very surprising how good it was. So, for the next to last story that we have here for you, is one brought to us from comingsoon.net, and it says Best Buy confirms plans to stop selling DVDs and Blu-rays in 2024. Best Buy has confirmed that it will begin to phase out selling DVDs and Blu-rays in the near future. On October 12th, 2023, the Digital Bits reported that Best Buy plans to phase out sales. Yada yada, it's basically the same line of dialogue. Variety confirmed the news on October 13th and noted the company made the decision to quit selling DVDs up to 9 months ago. To state the obvious, the way in which we watch movies and TV shows is much different today than it was decades ago, a spokesperson for Best Buy said. Making the change gives us more space and opportunity to bring customers. So the article goes into a little bit of history of Best Buy. To a lot of us, this isn't really big, surprising news because, at least in Canada, their movie section had become new releases only. Basically, for 1 month, you would see their stuff at the front of the store. It wasn't like a whole media section. CDs had long been gone from Canada. There was no CDs. There's a section for video games, and that's getting smaller and smaller, with the games mostly being like little cards you bring up to the front, and they grab them from the back. They don't have them on display. And movies and that being limited to whatever the newest release was, or whatever company might have wanted to pay to have something on an end cart. Walmart is basically, at least in Canada, the only major chain that has a movie section. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that older people shop at Walmart. And that's why they keep that stuff there. Older people or people that don't have means to have subscription services or understand that will shop there. So that's why you still have all the bargain bins and they have the new movies and stuff there. Amazon is obviously the largest retailer when it comes to home video still. And then you've still got your mom and pop shops. You still got a few that are like specialty boutique stores that sell stuff like that. But Best Buy losing it, at least internationally, isn't a big deal. But in the States, that's one of the last major retailers. So you're basically going to be left with, as far as like a major retailer, brick and mortar selling movies and TV shows, it's going to just be Walmart. And maybe Target, right? I forgot that that's a thing we don't have here anymore. So you're basically going to be left with like Walmart, Target, and then Amazon. And then of course, like boutique companies, you're going to have companies like your Vinegar Syndrome and that, and Criteria and all, and they'll still sell physical media to the niche markets and the collectors, and that'll be sold direct from their own websites or websites like Deep Discount from Mill Creek, and then you've got you have specific retailers you can purchase from that way online, but brick and mortar, you're basically in the States going to be left with Target and I don't even know what size of a section they have there anymore, and Walmart. So I give it 5 years, and then there's no more except for no, there won't be any. In 5 years, there probably won't be any retail stores, brick and mortar, except maybe Walmart having a bargain bin that sells movies physically. Games are probably going to be a little longer. Video games will probably last till 6 to 10 years, and then we probably won't see physical in stores anymore. And there's still going to be some niche markets that, again, will purchase them. It'll be online. And it makes sense for Amazon to keep selling them because they ship very easily. They're very cheap to ship. They still sell in pretty good volume on there. And they're just shipping direct from a warehouse. So it's a lot easier for them to do it that way. But yeah, end of an era. I don't know why anybody would have a reason to go into Best Buy anymore. I mean, if you want to get an appliance or something, but like if you're shopping for a TV, why aren't you just If you're shopping for a cheap TV, you're going to Walmart. If you're shopping for a good TV, aren't you just going on Amazon or to a proper, like, shopping direct or something? Why would you be going to Best Buy anymore? Best Buy's kind of done. That's just my opinion. And our final story here that Birdman grabbed is from comicbook.com. Now it says here, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the RPG, is getting remastered. I know he was a fan of this. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've seen the books, but I haven't actually read them. And it says Palladium Books. Wasn't there some controversy with them? Were they the ones that had some weird licensing and Kickstarter or GoFundMe issues or something with, I'm going to say, was it Macross or it wasn't something to do with the Macross license in Robotech? Anyway, Palladium Books has announced that they will be re-releasing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, the classic tabletop RPG featuring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The remastered version of the game will feature a new cover by Turtles co-creator Peter Laird, along with new artwork presented fully in color. The source books will also feature never-before-seen info and tidbits, including archival information provided by Laird and fellow TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman, along with comics creator Sophie Campbell and Freddie E. Williams II. This is incredibly exciting. I'm 100% or 1,000% on board to help bring this historic and original TMNT role-playing game series back in truly deluxe collector's edition that will thrill original fans and open the door to new ones, Eastman said in a press release announcing the new edition of the RPG. I've made all my archives available and expanded behind-the-scenes content, as well as a few top-secret surprises you'll need to be a part of. Stay tuned. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness was first released in 1985 and was one of the first licensed products for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, predating the cartoon that made the franchise famous. Notably, the game drew heavily from the original comics, which were satirically dark, and the game contains several charts detailing mental illnesses and sexual deviations that were eventually removed from the later printings after parents objected to the material appearing in a franchise made popular by Saturday morning cartoon. The Kickstarter for the new edition of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness will launch on October 31st. The RPG will be printed as 2 books, and extras included in the campaign include TMNT miniatures based on the role-playing game, dice sets, variant book covers, art prints by legacy TMNT creators, a card deck, and more, including special stretch goals to entice role-playing fans and TMNT fans alike. The new edition will be released in 2024. I know people have been burned by them with crowdfunding before, right? Like, I'm not crazy with this. So I don't know. I mean, I hope it does well. I hope it does really well, and I hope that everybody gets what they want, and it launches on time and doesn't become a fiasco, because more licensed cool properties like this are great. I don't think they're updating the engine or the game rules or anything. We'll have to wait and find out, but it sounds like it's kind of a bare bones release, just with better art and more behind the scenes stuff. If that's the case, still cool that it's going to be back in print again. And yeah, I guess that's going to do it. That's the news for this week. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to jump into either one of my reviews or one of Birdman's reviews, and I'll be back with the weird news in just a little bit. Time to talk about something a little different than what we're usually talking about with gaming, movies, and music and so on. It's time to get back into the realm of high-tech devices. Things that you might want to consider for Christmas gifts, or even if you're in the realm of purchasing a new car or a used car that might not have some of these features. And that is that the Nextbase series of dash cams, they sent a couple units over with some accessories for us to check out. They sent not their lowest end model, but sort of their one-up model, which is one of their most commonly purchased and popular items. And that is the 322 model. Now, this is a dash cam that is, when you consider like when you're looking out there for like, what should I get as like the minimum, or should I get something that is like above the quality of the crap that usually you see on Amazon? Like when you see a lot of the Chinese cameras, or, you know, you see like action cams, and then people will say, oh, it's an action cam and a dash cam and all this. And then it's usually of quite low quality. This is not that. This is a dedicated dash cam that you get that comes with a little mounting kit for your dash, as well as the USB cables and charging cables and everything you would need, except for the SD card, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. This is when you think, hey, dash cam, you know, what should I get? This is when you consider like, what is a standard high quality cam that is going to give you the base features that you need, bare minimum, to get everything going, while maintaining a good amount of quality, both in build and in sustainability, as far as how long it's going to last you. Now, as far as specifications go, the camera supports 1080p video, as well as 720p at 60 frames per second. Now, you'll get the option, like it'll set it so that you can set it to like 1080p 30. Generally speaking, if you have an option with a camera, while they have like, they'll say like they'll rate it for 1080p or whatever the resolution is, you'll want to always go with the option that has the higher frame rate. So whatever resolution is the highest frame rate you can get with 60 FPS is sort of what you want to go with. Or if there's a higher frame rate, even lower. It's just generally because what that usually means is you're not taxing the image sensor, and you can get a slightly clearer video, a lot smoother with motion. And a lot of times lowering the resolution slightly can increase the actual fidelity of what you're grabbing. In this case, it works pretty well both at 1080p and at 720p. I've done a little bit of testing, and we sort of just hooked up. It's funny because I'm the guy that doesn't drive, but I had my brother come by and we tested it out with his car, as well as all these items, and we were pretty surprised at how good the quality was overall. Now, with this device, with the 322, you have sort of like, when you see a baseline out there, when you go on Amazon, you're looking for like, you know, dash cam that's good, Chinese ones and all this, you'll see them pop up at around the $150 price point. Those are crap. This starts at $224 is the recommended MSRP, and you might think that, well, that's more than what I'm going to spend if I get one of the cheap Chinese ones. Well, the reason for that is it's a lot better than what's available out there. Like, it's a lot better than what's out there at that price point. So like I said, you have 1080p video. You have a 2.5 inch IPS display on the back. It has Wi-Fi connectivity. It has basically all the baseline features you'd want to get up and running with a good quality product. The other camera that they sent is their top of the line one, which, I'm going to say right now, it is more expensive. It retails at an MSRP of $450 Canadian. Now, if that sounds like a lot, you've got to consider the features that you're getting. What you get with this particular 622 GW model is 4K at 30 or 1440p at 60. And setting it to 1440p at 60, it is still almost as crystal clear as setting it at 4K, but you get the full 60 frames per second clear motion on picking up anything. And it even has a 1080p mode that runs at 120, which I think that's a little overkill for the most part. Unless you wanted to use the footage for, I don't know, like travel vlogs and things like that, the quality is enough that you could be getting B-roll footage with it. It has a 3-inch IPS display, full image stabilization, dual band Wi-Fi, so you're able to get either 2.4 and then 5 gigahertz going on it, which is pretty good. It also has Alexa built in for voice support. Polarizing filters are built in so that you won't get the glare and weird shimmer effects that you get sometimes with cameras that don't have a filter on, which is something that most don't. It is a much sleeker. It has more weight to it. It's quite substantial. It is a lot better than when you see people advertising action dash cams at 4K, in that it is true 4K. This isn't interpolated. This is capturing it with a proper sensor at the right resolution. Has all the features that you would have come to expect from a higher end camera of that caliber. The lens picks up a lot better lighting. It overall is just, it's a lot better than the cheap crap out there. Now, as far as any other accessories are concerned, they sent over a couple of items to look at. One was this Dashcam hardware kit. And what this does is this allows you to hook up directly into the electronics of your vehicle for power. So you don't have to use like a USB adapter in either a USB port in your dash or using like an adapter in the lighter port. So it comes with a 5-volt cable, the 2 amp standard fuse, mini fuses, basically everything that you would need to hook up to various styles of vehicles. The cable itself is a 5-meter length, so it's plenty of length to wire it and sort of just maneuver it around wherever you want to go, to sort of hardwire it in and have a more permanent solution in the vehicle. The other devices that they sent was a little tiny snap-on camera, and it's a rear view camera that snaps onto the side of any of these models. And what that does is it gives you a rear viewer as if it was coming through, like looking through your rear view mirror. So sort of like, think when you're in like a taxi cab and they've got the little camera hooked up on theirs. Like that, but the idea is that it's aimed facing backwards so it can pick up when you have a collision coming from behind. It won't be nearly as detailed as a proper camera mounted like on the back windshield, but it is nice that this is a feature, and it's USB connected and it just clips right on, and it will automatically be enabled within the camera, and it just records at the same time. It's compatible with the 322, the 422, 522, and the 622. Which is a neat little. I like that. That's just a feature. It just pops right on. Doesn't require any extra power. It's all part of the same dealio. And the other is the rear window camera. Now this is if you want to have a proper back window camera that faces, clearly can pick up all the license plates and everything from behind you. And it's compatible with the 322, 522, 422, and 622. Now this one fits directly on the rear window. And it comes with, it's a heavier duty camera, but it also comes with a 6.5 meter cable. So you're looking at like 15 feet. If my 6, 12, 15, 16 feet, something like that, my brain might be a little off, but it's long enough that you can route the very thin wire around wherever you need to route it without being interrupting or intrusive to the look of your vehicle as well. So you can sort of fit it around the doorways or whatever. I would suggest doing that above and then down and around versus on the ground, so you don't accidentally kick it or rub into it or whatever. But it does have that it's built in, and it seems to be of quite good build quality, and you're going to get better picture that way. The other thing that was included in the box that they sent were the micro SD cards. Now, the reason they include them, they have their own branded ones. You can use others, and I'll explain that in a little bit here. The reason is you can just use any micro SD card, but it has to be a certain speed and so on to ensure that it can record video, especially if you're recording 4K 1440p video. The reason they make their own is they have to be certified for what's considered high endurance. Most SD cards are made for periodically accessing data, so like taking a picture, recording a quick clip, loading up something small, putting into your phone and saving data to it. They're not really meant for continuous security camera usage. Things like network attached storage drives, or for security cameras, dash cams, action cams, that sort of thing. They're not really made for that. There's a certain amount of read-write, they call them IOPS, input output. I guess read and write cycles. Generally, micro SD and SD are rated for a very low amount of those before they start to slow down or might corrupt. That's why you'll see sometimes if you have a digital camera or digital video camera and you've used somewhat cheap cards, you'll find that sometimes they just die, or like, why did it die so quickly, or why didn't it work, or the video didn't save right. Well, and you can't really have that when you have something like this that's used for your insurance purposes or for safety. So it has to be something that is rated for that. And generally, they make cards that are tested to a higher standard when they are considered high endurance cards. And that's just what they make here. So they included 2 different 32 gigabyte cards that are made by Nextbase for the dash cams, and you can purchase them directly from them. They range in size. The devices, the cameras can read 128 gig, I believe, is usually, in most cases, the max that a lot of these cameras can read. I think they can probably, depending on the card, read up to 256. Beyond that, you can't really read that much. Now, that being said, you can record a certain amount of minutes depending on the video quality size that you're selecting. You can record a couple hours at a time before it runs out. And the idea with a camera like this is once you run out of space on the card, it rolls back and starts recording over previous video. And it's meant to be a continuous stream. And that is what puts the ton of wear and tear on cards like this. So they've included a couple here. If you want, you can purchase them directly from them. And just to be safe, like, you'll know and you'll be guaranteed and know that they just work, right? So the 32 gig cards, they're selling for $40 a piece. And you're like, that sounds like a lot when I can get, 128 gig for $28, $35 or so for a reputable brand out there. Just keep in mind that, yes, you can do that, but most of those will not be rated for high endurance applications. Like they sell a 128 gig industrial grade card for $50 on their website right now. It's on sale, so you can get something like that. Or I tested, I already had a couple industrial high endurance cards available, and I picked up a few extras before even receiving this because I was setting up home security systems and stuff at home. And like on sale, you can get like a Samsung high endurance. You have to make sure it's like Samsung or SanDisk, not some weird Chinese brand you never heard of. And they have to be specifically saying they're high endurance. That'll usually be a branding on the card itself. And that usually costs you double of what you're going to spend on a regular card. I had in the past seen 128 gig cards on sale for $23 So you have to be sure that not only one, is it a high endurance card, it has to be from a name brand that you can trust that isn't just going to stamp it on any card. And then you have to be sure when you're buying from like Amazon that it's actually made by them and it's not a knockoff card. So if you're afraid or worried and you just want to keep it simple and you don't mind spending a couple extra bucks, you may as well just go to Nextbase's website and purchase one of their cards that's made by them, has their branding on it, is going to be sent to you directly from them, is certified to work with all of their products, and your peace of mind is covered. Just something to keep in mind. You don't have to use theirs if you know what you're getting and you can get a reputable card and it's the right exact style of high endurance industrial card. It is easier if you just grab one of theirs. So I'm pretty impressed with everything I've seen so far. We'll probably be putting these on our gift guide for somebody who, is looking to maybe get one. These dash cams are great. Some high-end vehicles, obviously come with really good devices built in. But for a lot of us out there, we're buying used cars. We're getting vehicles that maybe don't have, we're getting a base model that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, or in some cases you're getting, you want to get a dash cam for your parents who probably are using an older vehicle that doesn't have it, didn't think they need it, but maybe now they are thinking of getting into it and having one, helping with their insurance or peace of mind or whatnot. And this is a good way to go aftermarket. It's a good product out there. In testing it out, it seems pretty good. It's not going to, break the bank completely. It is an investment in, your safety and insurance. So expect to spend a little more than just bargain basement Chinese products on Amazon prices. You want to get something that is going to last you, that is going to be rated for the temperatures in Canada. It's a Canadian company, so that's a big deal. The fact that, you know, these are made and rated for use within Canada, and somebody with proper customer service and warranties that you can trust. And I think that is something that Nextbase fills. That's a space that they can fill that a lot of the random Chinese products that people are searching for and picking up on eBay and Amazon can't. It's trust in a company and its warranty. So I'd say give it a shot. Look at it. I'll post links on our website for it with the post for this podcast. And we'll probably include this as some of our extra tech in our holiday gift guide. Reviewing it sort of early now so that you have a chance to look at it, especially if you want to save up a little extra cash and pick up one of the higher end models.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
It's time for the weird, the wacky, and the just plain fucked up news that have happened in the last week or so. Maybe a couple days off because it's been a little while since we had some truly weird news, but Birdman has grabbed a couple of things for me to talk about, and I grabbed a couple at the end here just to sort of balance it out. So we had 4 news stories, and we got 4 sort of weird ones. Now this one is from the realm of government, interestingly weird. This is from CNBC, and it says Department of Justice sues eBay for selling rolling coal devices. Fines could hit $2 billion. Now it says here eBay could be on the hook for as much as a $2 billion fine for allegedly allowing hundreds of thousands of, in quotes, rolling coal pollution devices and other products that violate environmental laws to be sold on its platform. Rolling coal is the practice of installing a tampering device to pump more diesel into a vehicle's engine than it can handle, leading to it to spew out sooty black clouds of exhaust to pollute the air. The practice is sometimes used as a form of anti-environmental protest. Coal rollers, or the drivers who engage in the action, may intentionally target Teslas, Priuses, and other electric hybrid vehicles. The Department of Justice, on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency, filed a lawsuit claiming that the e-commerce giant enabled the sale of more than 343,000 rolling coal devices. Each sale could spur a fine of up to $5,580 under the Clean Air Act. eBay denied the charges in a public statement, saying it has blocked more than 99.9% of listings for the products cited by the DOJ, including millions of listings each year. And eBay has partnered closely with law enforcement, including the DOJ, for over 2 decades on identifying emerging risks and assisting with prevention and enforcement, online retailers said. The DOJ's 61-page complaint includes screenshots of emissions tampering devices that were listed on eBay's platform. Rolling coal devices are among several tools that can be used to disable or tamper with a vehicle's pre-installed emissions control systems, which the EPA requires on all vehicles. Under the Clean Air Act, tampering with a vehicle's emission control systems and selling those tampering tools are illegal. Only some states, like New Jersey, Maryland, and Maine, have banned the practice in their own jurisdictions. In addition to rolling coal products, prosecutors argue that eBay allowed the sale of more than 5,600 dangerous methylene chloride paint removers and at least 23,000 prohibited pesticide products, both of which the EPA banned for their safety hazards. eBay has the power, the authority, and the resources to stop the sale of those illegal, harmful products on its website. It has chosen not to, prosecutors said in the filing. And this is true. Like, eBay can say that they try to stop things all they want, but that's the biggest marketplace for this stuff, because the stuff is usually, it can be sold overseas, but a lot of the stuff is sold domestically. And whereas you might argue, well, what about like AliExpress and all that? When that stuff's coming from China, a lot of it gets stopped at the border. and gets checked by customs. When you're not dealing with customs, it's harder for the mail to catch this stuff, right? So I'm surprised it exists. It seems very wasteful and spiteful and kind of pointless to be buying them, but I mean, okay. It opened me up right here to a world that I had never even heard of. So the second story here that Birdman posted is brought to us by AP News, and it is that the IRS says Microsoft may owe about $29 billion in back taxes. Microsoft disagrees. Now, this is from San Francisco's Associate Press. The Internal Revenue Service says Microsoft owes the U.S. Treasury $28.9 billion in back taxes plus penalties, which okay. An interest the company revealed this past Wednesday in a securities filing. That figure, which Microsoft disputes, stems from a long-running IRS probe into how Microsoft allocated its profits among countries and jurisdictions in the years from 2004 to 2013. Critics of the practice known as transfer pricing argue that companies frequently use it to minimize their tax burden by reporting lower profits in high-tax countries and higher profits in lower-tax jurisdictions. Microsoft, which is based in Redmond, Washington, said it followed IRS rules and will appeal the decision within the agency, a process expected to take several years. The company shares dropped slightly in the aftermarket and trading. The IRS began an audit of Microsoft in 2007, and the agency described in federal court documents last year as one of the largest in the service's history. Microsoft said it was recently notified by the IRS the audit had ended, so it took, oh my God, it took 16 years for them to finish their audit. And it says part of the long-running IRS investigation centers on how Microsoft structured a manufacturing facility starting in 2005 in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. The IRS has said that Microsoft hired accounting firm KPMG to set up a cost-sharing arrangement with the Puerto Rican affiliate that shifted taxable revenue out of the U.S. The IRS also looked at other affiliates, including one that involved retail sales in Asia, according to court documents. A blog post Wednesday from David Goff, Microsoft's corporate vice president of worldwide tax and customs. That's how you know a company's big, when that's an actual position. And the company has changed its corporate structure and practices since the years covered by the audit. But he said it's not uncommon for large multinationals to use cost-sharing arrangements, and that's because Microsoft's subsidiaries shared in the cost of developing some intellectual property. They were also entitled to related profits. Goff also said that the $28.9 billion sought by the IRS could be reduced by up to $10 billion because of tax paid as a result of a 2017 tax law signed by then-President Donald Trump. This is how the super rich companies stay super rich, and I sort of understand where they were coming from with how they structured things, but it will be interesting to see what comes of this, especially when they're large enough to be throwing around billions to purchase other companies, but apparently not enough to pay their taxes. So we'll see what happens here. This will probably, I mean, the tax man always gets their money. It's just a matter of how much. The $29 billion, if I had to guess, something will be arranged, because to not protract it out larger and longer, you'll see some sort of arrangement come across where probably half of it gets paid, and then there's going to be some sort of incentive program or something that changes things in the future, or there's some donations made, yada, yada, yada. I'm not talking bribes. I'm talking like they'll get a cash settlement of a certain amount of money that will go right into the government's coffers, which is what they need to hopefully fix infrastructure and stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, it is funny when a company gets hit with more taxes than, you know, what some countries have as their entire gross domestic product. So here is the last couple of stories. I grabbed them. The first one here is from the Miami New Times. And, and it says here, homicidal Winnie the Pooh movie shown to Miami Springs school children. So, counseling was we talked about how this was probably going to happen at some point. Counseling was offered to 4th grade students after a teacher showed them a slasher flick depicting the beloved children's book character Winnie the Pooh and Piglet on a murderous rampage. In Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which we talked about, the once lovable honey-obsessed bear turns feral after his bestie Christopher Robin leaves for college. Enraged by Robin's abandonment, Pooh and Piglet develop a seething hatred for humanity and go on a feature-length killing spree during which they slay a group of female university students who have the misfortune of renting a cabin in the 100-acre wood. As first reported by Ivan Taylor with CBS News Miami, parent Michelle Diaz said her twins were traumatized after watching the movie in a class on October 2nd at Academy for Innovative Education, a public charter school in Miami Springs. She told the outlet the movie continued to play even after students complained that they were not enjoying the gore. Diaz said the movie was showed for roughly 20 to 30 minutes, she told CBS, and believes the students selected the movie, but the teacher should have double-checked to make sure it was appropriate for children. Produced by British indie outfit Jagged Edge Productions, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey contains graphic kill scenes in which Pooh and Piglet smash a victim's head with a sledgehammer, decapitate a person, and feed a lady into a wood chipper. There's so much stabbing, face ripping, neck slicing, arm snapping, whipping, eyeballs popping out, and so much more. A woman's breasts are visible after her top comes off when she's being attacked, according to Common Sense Media, an organization that provides parental guidance on age-appropriate media. The group also notes sporadic use of fuck and shit as language indicators. The movie's tagline is, "This ain't no bedtime story." The characters are, of course, based on A.A. Milne's wholesome 1926 classic, Winnie the Pooh, which entered the public domain in January 2022 after its copyright expired. Academy for Innovative Education's head of school, Vera Hirsch, tells the New Times, as soon as the teacher realized what was being shown, the movie was turned off. Most of the film's grisly murder scenes take place later in the movie, Hirsch says. The issue has been thoroughly addressed with teachers and students. Our students are in school and doing fine, and we really did address all the concerns. She told CBS in the aftermath of the incident, the school was actively monitoring its students and had a mental health counselor. Oh, come on. Are people this sheltered that it's that traumatizing to children? I mean, I know I was on the outer edge of what was acceptable when I was watching horror movies and Terminator and all this stuff when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, but I knew the difference between reality and fantasy and what was real and what wasn't, and very rarely did I ever get nightmares. I got more nightmares from movies when I was already a teenager watching like The Ring than I did watching like slasher movies when I was like 7. I did. I knew the difference between right and wrong, real and fake, what movie is, what isn't. And if your kid is in the 4th grade and they can't tell what's real and what's fantasy, and this traumatizes them, I think you have to look at, personally, I think you have to look at how are they going to interact with the real world when they grow up. This should not be that big of an issue, but it is, and it's funny, I guess. But we said something like this was going to happen when we were talking about the kids are going to get confused. It's going to happen. It's not like back in the day where somebody puts the wrong VHS tape inside of the wrong case at a video rental store, but still. And the final story here comes from the Associated Press, and it's flight to Florida returns to Panama over a suspected bomb that turns out to be an adult diaper. This is from Panama City. Airport security at Panama City's Tucumán Airport on Friday searched a Copa airline flight bound for Tampa for a suspected bomb, only to find it was an adult diaper. The plane had returned to the Panama City airport early following reports of a possible bombing, possible bomb. The Boeing 737-800 landed around 11 a.m. local time and moved to an isolated stretch of the tarmac where 144 passengers were taken off the plane, Panama's Civil Aeronautics Authority said on the social media platform X. An anti-explosives team inspected the aircraft. Jose Castro, the head of the airport's security team, and said a suspicious object in one of the plane's bathrooms was found to be an adult diaper. We had it on a secure runway where police, special explosives canines units, and special forces examined the object and found it to be an adult diaper. Ruled out any risk. It's making me think of that guy that got arrested for going, was it the Home Depot or something? And he goes and runs into the bathroom. He says, "Everybody get out! I'm liable to blow this sucker up" or something. And it was just him taking a massive stinky shit. Like this is so ridiculous. And at the same time, they can't charge anybody. But also, I feel bad for the person that, somebody who has incontinence issues is not, like, this is going to blow up. At least I'll give them one thing. They did not state who the passenger was. They didn't say any names, because that's embarrassing enough as it is. That being said, it is pretty funny that they had to send the dogs, and the dogs had to sniff the shitty diaper. And that's definitely more one of my stories. I'm glad I found it. That's pretty much going to do it for the weird news here. We're going to take a quick break, go into one of Birdman's or my reviews, and then we're going to come back at the end where Birdman and I discuss, I guess, sort of what's coming up this week and then the next few weeks, because I know Birdman's been pretty busy with a lot of stuff going on. We do have a bunch of programming planned. I know it's in the editing stages at this point, and we'll make sure we sort of figure out what the schedule is going to be, because Birdman's birthday is this coming week, and I think we're not going to be recording on our regular recording day, because I'll be visiting for just birthday party stuff, and we might record a day late. So expect the regular show to be later on the Monday, or possibly into Tuesday when that one comes next week. So I guess I'm going to turn it over to either myself or Birdman, and we'll be back right after this.
The name's Pikachu, and I'm what you might call a great detective. I live and work here in Rhyme City, where humans and Pokemon live side by side. Everyone loves it here, and not just because the coffee's outstanding. When I'm not busy solving cases that crop up, I'm looking for leads on my missing partner, Harry. And it's no walk in the park, let me tell you. You want to know more about me? All right. I guess I can open up a little.
Hey guys, Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about one of the latest titles coming to us from Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch. We're going to be talking about the latest adventure with Detective Pikachu in Detective Pikachu Returns. This is the first time I've actually played any of the titles in the Detective Pikachu series, and well, turns out this was the first game that Alex reviewed when he first joined the show so many years ago. So while he's not reviewing this one, I am. And I gotta say, I am a huge fan. If you've been following me on social media for any length of time, you know that I've really gotten into Pokemon pretty hardcore in the last couple of years, especially with Pokemon Go. I'm just getting into the card game. I went to the movie. Me and Ken have talked about it on the show, but I digress. So Detective Pikachu Returns takes place about 2 years after the original game. Tim Goodman and Detective Pikachu are still searching for his father, Harry, who is still missing after the R incident. And, well, they are on yet another case, which starts out innocently enough with a jewel theft. And where it ends up, well, it's a lot of twists and turns. This game, it's really simple, but it's really fun, too. It's nothing that's like Phoenix Wright level or CSI or anything that's necessarily going to have you asking your local criminologist or forensics team. Basically, you go around, you talk to different Pokemon, you talk to different people, you get, basically you would get noted testimony, you would be able to deduce things, but you may also have to ask Pokemon to use their unique skills. Perhaps you might need someone to help melt a wall of ice, or maybe they're a particularly strong Pokemon, they might need to break something, or maybe they have a really keen sense of smell, stuff like that. So you're always working together with other Pokemon to help solve these crimes around Rhyme City, and it's pretty neat, actually. I really had a lot of fun with this, and because I'm so new to a lot of the expansive Pokedex that has come out since my day of red, blue, and yellow, there's a lot of these Pokemon I've only ever seen in Pokemon Go, so hearing them say some of their names is kind of cool. And you do visit, iconic locations like the Hi Hat Cafe, which was, I think, referenced in the Detective Pikachu movie that came out a couple of years ago. In fact, there's even some meta humor about the movie, too, in here, which is kind of fun. Although it's a little weird not to hear Ryan Reynolds coming out of Pikachu at this time around. But hey, I'm totally fine with it. Speaking of voice acting, there is a surprising amount of that in this game. Like, a lot of scenes are actually voiced, and I really, really, really appreciate that. The graphics, though, are a little simplistic, but that's okay. You're not exactly expecting like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth here on the Nintendo Switch. Well, what you do, you get something that's serviceable. I do wish the character models had a little bit more life to them at times. I think the Pokemon get the better end of this as opposed to some of the human characters, but it's fine. Like I said, you're not here for a cinematic experience. You're here to play in the Pokemon world, and it's still fun. Like, this is a game that's going to take you a couple of days to beat. You're going to have a fun time inhabiting this world with Tim Goodman and Detective Pikachu. And at the end of the day, you're going to have a pretty fun adventure. So can I recommend Detective Pikachu Returns? If you didn't play the first game, that's fine. If you don't own a 3DS, that's fine. If you've only seen the movie that was out in theaters, this is a pretty good introduction to play in that world. It's simplistic, it's fun, it's not too tough. Players of all ages rather, can really enjoy this. So yeah, ultimately, yeah, I can recommend this, especially if you're a Pokemon fan. If you're expecting something a little bit more puzzle heavy, you might be able to skip this, as it's probably going to be a little too easy for you. But if you're a fan of those little pocket monsters, and if you're a fan of a wisecracking Pikachu that loves coffee and likes to take you down a peg every so often, well, Detective Pikachu Returns is most certainly a winner. Once again, you should definitely be picking this up. A review copy was provided to us by Nintendo.
Whenever an incident occurs, Tim talks to the people, I talk to the Pokemon, and we work together using our case notebook to deduce what happened. When investigating a scene, we're total pros at finding everything, but even pros gotta take it easy every so often. You can count on us to solve even the toughest cases in a flash.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. Once again, thank you for joining us on this week's podcast. Wish I'd been around a little bit more this week, but just it's been busy. But that's okay. We will be back next week after my birthday, which we'll be back next Monday, the 23rd, where I will be older, definitely not wiser, probably stupider. Let's be honest with you.
Older, weaker, more feeble and dumb.
Exactly.
That's what happens when your birthday comes.
And literally 1 foot in the grave. So yes, coming up in terms
only foot in the grave.
The only foot in the grave. So yeah, coming up in terms of spooky content this week. As of this recording, I haven't talked with Dave to see if he'll do another spooky thing with me. I can't see why he wouldn't, but I'm not going to promise anything. Then again, me and Alex haven't done anything this month, so maybe we'll work something out for next week. I know in terms of the big Halloween show, James Rolfe and Enrique Couto did come on to speak about Hammer Horror that will be coming up. Me, Alex, and Aaron are talking about doing some stuff for November, because we know it's going to be a very busy month in November gaming-wise. And speaking of gaming stuff, me and Alex were talking a little bit off air, and he kind of gave me an idea that I'm more liking as to originally what were something we were going to do about another project. I know this year we've been talking about trying to get a role-playing project off the ground, but as Alice described it, and he's not wrong, it's like herding cats, with Ken working ridiculous hours he does with the Postal Service, with JT.
Specifically, as the Christmas season ramps up, anybody working in logistics is going to be stressed to the max.
Yeah, I don't envy him.
Adding extra service, extra stuff to do, extra loads, extra days of work. It's going to be busy enough as it is on him. With JT,
it's unpredictable.
He's also working retail at a time of the year when people are throwing more parties, and especially with people no longer sequestered. This has really been the first full 12 months where we haven't worried about COVID, really. You're going to have more Christmas parties and stuff being thrown. Hence, he's going to be more busy.
Yeah,
you're busy with lots of stuff coming up and potential school and different things. I'm going to be busy with family stuff that I have to deal with in the background. A lot of stuff going on. It's like we could say we're going to do something, pick a day, and you can almost roll the dice and like get a critical one every time when I figure and go like, oh, somebody has to pull out. It's like, oh, so it's not a good idea to commit to something unless we've already recorded it.
Yeah. So Alex kind of gave me an idea, and I really like this. So my gaming library has been shrank significantly in the last couple of years, but he did give me an idea. Why don't I pick a book, talk about the lore and what I like about it? Maybe I have a fun story to go with it, and maybe give you a prompt for something. So Botched Roll, I think, might make a significant comeback towards the end of this year, beginning of next, because I've got all these things. I'm an RPG writer now. Why not talk about my process? Like, this is something I can easily do. Like, I can talk about Star Wars. I can talk about Star Trek. I can talk about Alien. I can talk about Transformers. I can talk about Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire, Werewolf, Hunter, Mage. I've always wanted to talk about Rifts in some capacity. So why not? I mean, as I discover some of the older game systems, maybe I'll find something neat. Am I going to get into the nitty gritty of mechanics? No, because honestly, in a lot of my games, I house rule a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean the game worlds are bad. Like Rifts is really weird. And if you've been following anything involving that company, Palladium, in the last little bit, they're launching a new Kickstarter for TMNT and Other Strangeness, which was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game that came out way back in the 80s. And this one has the full support of Nickelodeon and Paramount if the Kickstarter covers to be, looked at. So maybe there's something there. And I just never really thought about doing it like this, because it's a solo show I can do on my schedule, on my time, and reading always enriches the soul. So why not? I mean, I talked about doing a book club podcast years ago, and then, well, that author turned out to be a piece of crap. So why not do something that I enjoy in a different capacity?
I love that. That's the nicest thing you probably could have said.
Yeah, exactly. It's the nicest thing. So why not, right? I mean, I would love to share my love of some of these older game systems with you, some of this older lore, and maybe this might encourage you to pick up some of these books from Drive-Thru RPG or from some of these other kind of publishers. And maybe I can give you insight into how I work on my process as an RPG writer, because I work on Star Trek Adventures as a person who does stuff there. I think I'm allowed to say that I write on it, but I do some other things. And it could be just kind of a neat process to say, how do you get in that zone? How do you apply to these companies? And it's not as hard as you might think. So I think I'm liking that idea. Will we ever do a role play show? Yeah, who knows? Because we have to get everyone on the right schedule. Maybe I'll go recruit some of my friends with attitude. Who knows, right? So this is kind of a cool idea, and I'm really glad me and Alex kind of talked this out, because it's something that I think has value. It's easy to do, and you may be able to find these books somewhere out there. This may encourage you to buy books off of eBay, or who knows,
or digital copies from Drive-Thru or direct from the source.
Yeah, like there's tons of things out there, and maybe I'll start interviewing more people from the industry again. Who knows? So yeah, we just got a lot of cool stuff coming up in the next little bit. The gift guide is coming up so quickly. We still have...
There's still games coming out too.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's Broketober, but like even things that we're going to be talking about regardless of if we get review copies and that are, we've got Spider-Man coming up. You got Mario
RPG.
And that's, like, I was just thinking, like, that's just October. And then like come November, you've got what is it? The Metal Gear Solid collection is coming.
Yep, which we are getting a copy of. We're going to be talking about COD for sure.
COD. Fingers crossed on RoboCop, because that demo went live for a little bit on the PC and people loved it.
Yeah, so
we'll see about that. And if we don't get it, that might be something like we look at later on down the line when Black Friday comes and cheap games are coming, and we might be like, hey, let's grab it. Same with Star Ocean. That's probably something we'll talk about eventually later on. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 is coming.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
WarioWare is coming out in November. There's a bunch of like ports and stuff too, but like there's a bunch of Double Dragon collections coming out.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name. That's the side story to Like a Dragon or Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
You've got, like we said, COD is coming. That's going to be the big one, obviously, for November. But beyond that, there's like UFO Robot Grenadizer, which like stuff based on like 70s and 80s anime. It's just randomly popping up. You've got, what else in November? I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Super Mario RPG, obviously, Persona 5 Tactica, the same day. These games are all dropping on the same day, the good games, it seems.
Yeah, I was talking with my friends over at Free League Publishing. I'll be talking about the Walking Dead RPG at some point. Like, there's just so many games coming out. There's stuff for the One Rings coming out, too.
And fighting games, like Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. That's the like new edition of the game that was good as a single-player game, but had really bad online. But now they've got full proper rollback netcode. That's coming. And then come December even, things had to get spread out more than they used to be. There's some smaller titles, but the big one is Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. It's what if Avatar was set using into the same world engine as Far Cry? And it's like, that's coming. And somewhere in the realm here, there's also Just Dance, because that comes out perpetually.
Yep, and we also have the newest edition of Jackbox. I guess I can say this. I sat in on a session with the developers a couple of weeks ago, and I can talk about that for next show. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and those are just things that are dated. Like, it's surprising now. It doesn't sound like it's as crazy as it used to be. That's because a bunch of games got moved to next year. Mm-hmm. But it's at least something manageable. But we've got all that coming on top of whatever movies and stuff we're talking about and gift guide stuff coming. So we're lucky that it's being spread out a little bit more than we were worried about. But we're trying to make sure that we have, good content coming for now. Like, we've got obviously our spooky stuff for this month. We'll have probably some sort of preliminary sales guide if we see things popping up for Black Friday. And then we're obviously working on our holiday gift guide, some Future Imperfect, some loose cannon episodes, as you said, for later in November. We've got prototypes planned. Then there's always the Game Awards coming. And as far as our regular Thursday programming, we've got more Earth versus Soups. This week is Kronos, then Teenagers from Outer Space, and that's rounding off the October month of that. And then they roll into even more Creeping Flesh, Diary of a Madman, Godzilla versus Mothra, Maneater, I Bury the Living, Dementia 13, The Brain. It goes onward and onward. We've got plenty of stuff coming until the holidays, all the way from all around the 50s and 60s movies with Darlene there and Aaron.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly a run through the rest of 2023, but thank you guys for staying with us. We're glad to provide all this content, all free of charge. Who needs a Patreon? We're not those guys.
What, you mean like all the other This Week in Geeks that have popped up trying to copy us that last for maybe a handful of episodes, then make an announcement that they're switching over to Patreon and then disappear?
Yeah, that's, as I've said with this show, the news will always be free. I very much believe in that. And if we've done it for this long, I've got no reason to paywall you now. I'm not that guy. Neither's Alex. So,
but Michael, if we move to a paywall system, we can ask for, I don't know, $30, $40 a month to do the same thing we were already doing. Right?
Fuck off. Never gonna happen.
Oh, you know who you are, and you should be ashamed.
Anyway, that being said, guys, again, thank you for all your support. We will have more spooky content for the rest of the month. I'm looking forward to being back. So by the next time I talk to you, I'll be older and closer to death. So anyway, guys, try and have yourselves an awesome week. So for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. We'll talk to you guys again next week, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.